Just let it connect. Let me cross check also. Are we connected? I hope it is connected. Let me cross check. So, yeah, I think, yeah, we are connected. Yeah, is the audio is coming? Let me cross check that as well. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, both is connected. So let's get started. So, okay, today, as you guys have observed, that primarily we'll discuss about Power BI, and we have Soro with us in order to take us through the Power BI, not only directly tool, primarily he will be covering about what exactly BI is. First point is that, and then we will be deep dive into the tool stack, little bit high level overview. You can see the questions: what is BI, where we use it, BI lifecycle, use cases, and BI tool. So this is the outline of the connect today. So without wasting, let's connect with Soro. Soro, over to you.
Hi, hi there. Hello. So we're going to start with business intelligence and like what it is all about. We're hearing the term business intelligence an awful lot these days. You have business intelligence engineer, data engineer. I mean, anything data is really like something in demand. But regarding business intelligence, so business intelligence, if we look at the definition, so this is the definition that I got from Tableau. Tableau is one of the leading BI developers, BI tools that's out there in the market. So here, business intelligence is all about business analytics, data mining, data tools, infrastructure, and the best practices. You'll see that a data visualization part is highlighted there. Why? Because mostly when we talk about business intelligence, mostly it's about data visualization. Because Tableau's bread and butter is started with visualization, data visualization. Then it moved into other ETL tools. Then it moved into data science, predictive modeling, a lot of things. But it starts with data visualization. So that's basically, if I have to drill it down, like business intelligence is all about integrating your business functionality, your business logics, with your technical perspective, and bringing a real-time analysis. That's all that is about. You have multiple disparate systems. You need and always have an ETL tool that's sitting in the middle. You will have an end user who has to look at the data, but you have to act in the middle. You have to get that data to the end user in that shape they want, so that they can make the analysis. It has to do with multiple things. That analysis can be a report. It can be a simple KPI. It can be a daily dashboard, something like that, weekly dashboard. It can be also something like a trigger. It's like if there are a lot of companies who goes for data warehousing, data quality, who are practicing data governance at most, they always use triggers to ensure data quality. A trigger is nothing but that they calculate to know if the data is correct or not. So we're going to talk about the business intelligence and Power BI mostly. So what are the target users for business intelligence by industry? We see government, we see education industry, manufacturing, retail, wholesale, financial services. All of this are targeted users. So basically, it covers everything, right? There's nothing is left. So basically, all business who needs data to survive, who needs reporting, and who should be like a bigger capacity, who cannot handle small data, who cannot handle things like Excel data or Access data, who cannot work with that. If it's in a bigger capacity, then yeah, you have to go with an integrated system. You have to go with building a pipeline, data pipeline, so that it flows to the correct people, and you would consider the security because there are multiple employees, multiple people in the organization. All the people should not have access to all the data. So business intelligence tools can also control that, can also control like who should see the data and who should not see the data. So because of all of this, we have Power BI, things like Power BI, Tableau, Looker, all of that. So the business intelligence lifecycle. What is the business lifecycle? It's basically, it starts with analyzing the business requirement first. I mean, everything does. I mean, if you have a problem only, you have to build the requirements, and then you have to design the data model. What is the data model? Data model, if you have worked with SSAS, SQL Server Analysis Services, you would know you have cubes, multinational cubes, and there within that you can select, you can do a data modeling. I'll explain what data model is in one of our next lectures for those who do not have a lot of understanding regarding data model. So next we have designing the physical schema of the structure of the field names, the structure of the constraint that goes there, the validation, all of that. Build the data warehouse, build the DW. Data warehouse also I'll walk you through on one of the next sessions. Data warehouse, I mean, for those who you were unfamiliar with data warehouse, it's just a data. It's all that name is. I mean, an end user should not go to the source system to look at a particular data. End user should always look at a destination, look at output. So there can be multiple sources. In a business environment, there is multiple sources. Data comes from all around. You have some, and today you have multiple SaaS, multiple softwares, maybe an UI. Users would not always go and connect to it directly. So always it needs to go into a data warehouse. Data warehouse is exactly what the name is. It's a warehouse for data. I mean, it stores all the data, all the output data in a normalized format so that you can have a ready analysis. And in that data warehouse, you have a cube. It can be a data cube, then it can be broken down into data mart, all of those. I'll do a separate session on data warehouse. It's definitely not easy to cover something like this in short time, and I'll give it some respect. So we'll switch off for later. Create the BI project structure. Again, the metadata, how the metadata should be. Metadata is data about the data. I mean, what should be the those of you who have worked with SQL would know there are multiple types. You have int, you have float, you have varchar 20, varchar 30, varchar mass. All these are basically saying how much of the data, how much of bits you're going to use for a particular field. That's all the metadata is. If you have a source system which sends dates and you design that in your BI system as string, then your BI system will completely fail. Because it'll always fail if it tries to load a data as a string. I mean, you should not do that. And if you do, even if the BI system does load it as a string, it can do if you set up the right configuration. Then you would not be able to do further calculations down the line. If you make it a date, you can do multiple time intelligence function. You can do month-on-month, year-on-year analysis. You can do day-by-day analysis. A lot of those. You will miss out on all of those. So, metadata, structuring the metadata is probably one of the most important things you have in business intelligence. Because I mean, suppose, and you see this an awful lot. I mean, um, um, if you have worked with ClickSense, Power BI, any tool, for those of you who have worked with that tool, you'll see that if there's some ID, suppose it's a customer ID, and if the customer ID is read into Power BI, you'll see that it is read as a metric. It is read as a whole number, which is totally incorrect, because it should not be read as a whole number. It should be read as a string. If you are reading it as a whole number, Power BI will try to come up with like metrics on that whole number, because it's reading this as whole number. So you have to always decide on the metadata, on the schema, that what should be the data type of the particular fields of the data. Then develop the BI objects. Of course, those are the BI objects. When they talk about BI objects, they're obviously talking about the software, the tools that you, whether you will go with SSIS, Power BI, Tableau, whatever there is. And then administer and maintain. That's there always. I mean, you have to administer and maintain anything that we develop. User case. So this is something that we brought up from the Power BI website, Microsoft official website. That has actually a lot of things.
Shoro, I have one question.
Good place to start.
Shoro, I have one question. Can I ask?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the previous slide, if you move back, please. In the previous, just if you go back. Yeah, correct. So in this slide, the design data model, these entire activity, whatever step you have mentioned, these all the activity actually we are well capable of, or we are like we have this functionality to perform all this activity within the tool whichever we'll be observing, correct? So I mean to say that, analyzing business requirement, this is a functional task, so this is not a technical task. So analyzing business requirement, functional done, but designing data model also design related. But once I design the data model, I will be able to create with the tool. I don't need to use any external source, correct? Tools are well capable enough to handle it.
Data model. So designing data model is particularly also something functional, because I mean, only your business analyst in your team would know like which data, which is the primary key, which is the foreign key, and they would be the one who will figure it out. So there are multiple data modeling tools out there in the market. They generally use that. Once that data model is finalized, that is dropped into your data warehouse system. So to answer your questions, all of this, I mean, first 3 point at least is not within the tool. This is totally functionality requirement. Designing the physical schema, design data model. With all of this, you have multiple client level discussion, you have multiple emails, you have visual flowcharts, all of those. Once that's approved, then you can bring in that final thing and start developing your tool.
Got it, okay.
Also build the DW. I mean, data warehouse Power BI. I mean, again, nobody considers Power BI as a data warehouse. I mean, it's hasn't happened yet. Power BI is not considered a data warehouse because there are multiple limitations in Power BI. Power BI is not like a data lake or a cloud enterprise, so it cannot handle like all of your data. I mean, at one point it gives up and say you have to connect directly. So data warehouse is always something that has to do with data lakes, your on-premises SQL Server, anything like that. So 5, 6, 7, only you will do with the tool. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Clear. Okay. We can move to the next one. Thanks.
Okay. So this one. So this is something that we downloaded from the Microsoft site. Here we see multiple level analysis. This is a dashboard. This is a dashboard in Power BI. A dashboard has multiple KPIs, multiple reports piled together. And we'll talk about dashboards. So there in Power BI service, you have dashboard, you have report, and you have KPIs matrices. We'll talk about all those. So here what you see is you have multiple reports that joined into one, and you'll see that there's like multiple analysis. Here you have a scatter plot analysis, a bubble chart. Here you have a KPI, you have a simple bar chart here, and and it's a map chart where you have a zonal identification of the data, the spread of the data. So basically, this is not showing you all the things Power BI can do. I mean, there's a lot more. This is just the visualization. And I mean, if I have to be truthful, Power BI is not really, I mean, the best for visualization. I mean, it's good. It can handle your data pretty well. It can do multiple calculations. The DAX is one of the most powerful languages I've seen in Power BI. But when it comes to visualization, Power BI is limited to only the things they have not in this. If someone builds a visualization on Node.js or something like that, that is available. Or the Power BI visualization that Microsoft provides you from the start. Nothing further is available until you create your own visualization. But with things like Tableau, you have like multiple ways to like customize your visualization, which you don't have for Power BI. So that's a drawback, definitely. Moving on. So here we see the tools for extracting information. So these are all the, I mean, this is not all the BI tools. You have Power BI, Looker, Tableau. You have SAP, you have ClickSense, ClickView. A lot of those are out in the market. But the leading ones are Tableau and Power BI. Microsoft is the leading one. So,
Okay.
what is Power BI? As we said, Power BI is the business analytics platform. It's a business analytics tool to develop interactive visualization and business intelligence capabilities so that the end users can read it very easily. I mean, you don't have to explain it. I saw a joke on LinkedIn. I mean, there's quote flying around on LinkedIn. I really liked it. I mean, a good visualization dashboard is like a good joke. If you have to explain it, it's not that good. Right? Those of you who have worked with this BI would know this joke. That basically means that, I mean, if you have to explain your visualizations to clients and tell them, okay, this is what it does, then it's probably not that good. You have to make it simple. You have to make it interactive so they would know. So they would not need multiple trainings. I mean, it's all about agility, right? I mean, you have one documentation with the Power BI. Whenever you create it, I mean, if the first thing the client is going to ask you is, okay, is there a document? Of course, there's a document. I have to create it. So yeah, you have to create the document, but at the end, you have to, if you make your visualizations complicated enough without like explaining it, without providing that interactivity and breaking it down within your visualization, within your BI, then clients are going to ask you multiple times, like what this is doing, what this is doing. So yeah, I mean, always make your visualization simple enough for the users. So going to process flowchart, what Power BI can do. So for Power BI, we have on the left, we have multiple database systems from which Power BI can get the data. We have on-premises server, on-premises SQL DB. We have cloud database. You can cloud database like Azure, AWS, Google. You can connect to that. You can connect to REST API, web data. I mean, there is a NASA data. NASA has a web API. I'll work with that on one of the future sessions. I mean, REST API gives you HTML or a JSON format that are lot of softwares, a lot of SaaS are have REST API functionalities. I have worked with ServiceNow, I have worked with Salesforce, and all of those have REST API generation capabilities. And you can just get the REST API data from that in JSON format, in HTML format, and Power BI can convert it pretty easily into the table structure that you need. You have big data, Spark, Hadoop, all of that. So all of this you can connect to the data, Power BI, and you see a Power Query. I mean, Power Query, what is the Power Query? Power Query is the one thing that holds the system of Power BI. In Power BI, you have Power Query, you have your reporting, and you have the modeling. These three are the main things that you should really focus about. Modeling down the line, modeling is the last thing you should focus on. I mean, Power Query is the first because you get your data there, and in Power Query, when you connect to the data in Power Query, you have you can do multiple level filters, you can do multiple joins, you can clean your data. So Power Query is the ETL tool that is present in Power BI. That is really something that's great, that a BI tool is providing within the software only, ETL tool. That's something that I really like that fact. And with Power Query, you can do everything through GUI functionality. I have Power Query open. Let me just take you there quickly. See, I go to transform data. I go to here because there's nothing. You see that there's all the GUI capacities that you have here. So we'll go really important. And then from Power Query, it flows to the BI visualization and self-service reporting. Self-service reporting is something that Power BI thrives on. I mean, basically all your BI tools should be self-service so that the users can generate their own reports from your BI tool. You have other BI tools like IBM Cognos. You have other BI tools like MicroStrategy, SSAS, all of those. You have the users who generates the reports themselves from a cube. Well, Power BI also does the same thing. Power BI is also SSAS. It runs that SSAS engine, but it gives you that visualization structure there too. And I mean, users can happily create their report, but they generally don't because you are already giving them everything to your visualization. Okay, so next point. Any questions until here? Are you receiving any questions?
Yeah, I received one question like, are you going to cover DAX? So in future, are we going to cover DAX, and are you going to just share some insight how exactly you work, what is the context, which kind of query, this is my personal question. I received a question on DAX that are you going to cover that? That is the question. But on top of, I wanted to know, I'm curious to explore that how similar it is with SQL query and other query languages which we have. So yeah, so what's your response on this?
Right. So the users asking obviously work in SQL and DAX. I mean, if you look at DAX, it won't look anything like SQL. But actually, what Power BI does in the background is it converts that DAX into an SQL structure so that it can work with the data. So I mean, this is something that I also don't like. Power BI should have given SQL query functionality within the formula. But those of you who have worked extensively with Excel will find DAX really easy. Because like I can say 40% or 50% of the functions that you see in DAX are already on Excel. So it should not be a problem at all.
So it's if I say it's like nothing but it's a formula which we have in Excel.
Exactly.
So
You have same thing as if you don't have VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP because that's what Power BI modeling does for you. But
got it. Okay.
Instead of VLOOKUP, you have relative function. You have measures function, and when you talk about DAX, there's like one thing everybody I mean, if anybody has gone through, I mean, if anybody has worked with Power BI a lot, or done some Google search on Power BI, they would see one DAX popping an awful lot is the calculate DAX. And that is really like most of the DAX that you need. Things like calculators, SumX, or these are like the things that sets Power BI apart. Measures. These are measures. So in Power BI, there's calculated column and measures. So we'll talk about those. I mean, we'll have to do a separate session, obviously, on that because it needs a separate session. It has a lot of things to be discussed on that.
Got it. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, that's really help because if that is similar, it will be helpful for understanding, and we can figure out some scenario which we can replicate that how exactly in Dask we can query and extract the information, how similar it is with formula, and which kind of inbuilt functionality already there while performing task. So it will be really interesting to observe that. I think we'll be addressing, or you are going to address in the future session. Am I right?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Sora.
Definitely. So let's move on. So process flowchart. I mean, till now we are seeing like with this one we saw what Power BI can do. Power BI can connect to multiple database systems, bring it all together through the Power Query. It's powerful in language that is helps using Power Query and blend it together to get a nice visualization. But
I see.
that's not actually what happens in enterprise within organizations. What actually happens in enterprise as a practice together is enterprise as a data warehouse, which I was talking about a while back. So here you have the multiple application. You see CRM, ERP, databases, files, APIs, all of that. All of this we covered in the previous video.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, previous slide. But
Yes.
these are not being brought directly into Power BI. We are using an ETL engine. And with ETL engine, you have multiple ETL engine. Right now, I mean, if anyone talks about ETL, you have Informatica, Alteryx, SSIS, all of those. You can integrate that into your data warehouse. Data warehouse is also a SQL server. It can be a SQL server, it can be a cloud, it can be hosted on Azure, it can be a data lake too, data warehousing on data lake. And that data warehouse is broken into data marts. Data mart is basically segregation of the data to work with. I mean, because you have to always think about performance issue. With data warehouse, I mean, if the organization is really big and if you have to work with a lot of countries' data, you have all of those countries' data within that data warehouse, and I mean transferring all those through an ETL engine to a data warehouse. I know from experience, it used to take like 1 day. But I mean, we used to run everything, and after the day, we saw that things are okay. We done some data quality check to see if the data warehouse, the data is perfect or not. Then it's broken down into data marts for different countries. I mean, that's not actually, this is not something that generally happens. I'm talking about, just give you an example. Then like if the country data is large, then it can be broken down into different data marts, and with different data marts, it can be SQL server hosting particular country data in the data mart. Why do we do this? Performance. I mean, if everybody, all of the countries, maybe you have 500 countries. Maybe you have 140 countries connecting to your DWH during business hours. You can imagine how slow the DWH server can get it. I mean, nobody would get their data maybe like in an hour. So it's better to segregate this within servers so that the performance is in practice lesser.
One question I have here.
Yeah.
So one question is, see, collection is again functional task. Okay, so it is not functional. I mean to say, the from what are the source I need to extract the information. So these are the sources, either CRM, ERP, database, file, or APIs. I'm getting the sources as input, putting into ETL tool, which is part of, again, it's a different tool altogether. First question in this stage, which is integrated or integrate, in this stage while performing the ETL activity, my question is that, can this be done with Power BI? That's the question.
Um,
Can that ETL activity can be done, or it
Power
has
BI
to?
acts right. Power BI acts as only a destination. Your ETL has that functionality
Got
to
it. Okay.
get your data
Mhm.
and move it into a pipeline. It
I
can
see.
move it into other destinations. Power BI cannot do that. Power BI cannot take your data and post it to SQL Server or anything like that. Power
Great.
BI, whatever
Mhm.
Power BI queries, it hosts it, it consumes it on its own. Power BI is really selfish. It's a really selfish guy who doesn't share his food with anyone. It's like Joey if someone has got friends.
Got it. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, ETL engine. I mean, there are a lot of ETL engines, and I mean,
Mhm.
Power Query is definitely something that's really powerful,
Mhm.
but nobody will go for Power Query as its ETL engine. I mean, because I mean, there's a lot of functionalities that's not there that should be there in ETL.
Okay. Now
For
the.
that, yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Now the DWH. The question is, uh, uh, this DWH, this data mart, which you are calling, is it a dependency in Power BI? I think it is, definitely, because I am receiving that input. So it is a part of Power BI, or it is external. We are integrating with Power BI. Means it is, while accessing the data by default, we need to define the data source. That data, DWH, that part of it, or DWH something which is where we are actually collating all the data. From there we push into Power BI, externally or separately, not directly connected to it. If you can put some light on this part.
Right. Right. So let me do this. I don't have many experience with drawing stuff, but I'm gonna try again.
Yeah. Okay.
Here you have your database system. This is DWH. Okay. Now, what happens here? This is your server. This can be a SQL server. This can be a cloud. Anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
From this, it goes into Power and Power BI. Uh,
You're breaking a
is
little
going
bit.
to show
Sorry, you're
here.
you're breaking a little bit there.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, just wait. Okay. Yeah, you now it's better, because your voice was breaking. Now it's better. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So I don't know how much I cut off. So this one DWH.
Mm-hmm.
DWH is a separate from Power BI.
I see.
Power
Okay.
BI is not a data warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And Power BI cannot be a data warehouse because Power BI does not have that much storage capacity. So, I mean, if you go to big storage, I mean, if the data is disparate and you have to go towards big data like that, Power BI cannot give you that functionality. So
Mm-hmm.
Power BI is always that that user interface that will connect to your data. And this data, this DWH, this is a simple SQL server or a data lake, anything can be there. Okay, this one. So from this goes into your Power BI desktop. This is Power BI desktop here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes when you publish a report from Power BI desktop.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a publish option. If I create a report here, I get a publish option. When I create that publish option, this puts it into the cloud Power BI service.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Would you mind if you just give me some second? I will
This
annotate it.
is the place from where, and uh, till this part, till the part below, you are a developer. This is a developer role. You are getting the data from server, you're developing, designing your report in Power BI desktop, and then you host it on the Power BI service, which is the Power BI cloud. From that, the end users can access the data.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah,
Got it.
so
Just let me
basically
make an
it's
outline.
not the same as data warehouse.
Okay, got it. So let me make an outline and validate my understanding here. So you mean to say, you know what? We have a data lake where we have the data. Okay, this is the external source. It can be anything. Okay, there a company, I will say company internal data house. This can be company internal data house, or it can be any other sources. Okay, either in-house or enterprise, any kind of data where they are dumping all the information from the ETL tool. From the ETL tool, or yeah, from the ETL tool. So it is being extracted from XYZ tool into ETL, and ETL it is transformed, dumped into this data warehouse. Then it is actually pulled. I will rather use a word called pulled. It is pulled into the here in this is Power BI desktop. So it has an input wizard. So through that input is wizard, we are consuming this database, and it can be anything. It can be in SQL, it can be in Excel, it can be any kind of source. It can be SQL, Excel, or any kind of data source, I will rather say. Any kind of file also, there is no worries. Even if it is CSV file and I have an output, maybe I don't know, I'm going beyond now, maybe text file, I don't know, but this data is pushed into the Power BI. And if it is structured, because already we are going through the ETL life cycle, then the data mostly would be structured. Then in database it is there, it is stored, and these are the, these many ways it would be stored most likely. Now once it is stored in this way, it pushed into or pulled into the Power BI desktop, and from Power BI desktop, once the activity, these all function, whatever operation we are performing. So when I say operation, I will say, analyzing the data, this is one operation. Then creating the model, or creating the model. Okay, creating the models, these all operational activity, or let's say that DAX, performing query and creating the required columns, whatever required, we are performing that activity. These all operation we are performing in a Power BI desktop. Once these operation done, and we have certain kind of model to represent our charts or diagram, whatever we wanted to represent, that data we have now with the Power BI. Now this chart actually push into the Power BI cloud. This is Power BI, I will rather say cloud, correct? This is we push into cloud. Now in cloud is nothing, it's a platform where we visualize all this information. So it's just imagine that I have this in a desktop, but in order to make it available enterprise wise for everybody, we are pushing into cloud, so that if other team members or other managers or XYZ people from the enterprise level, they can visualize that information. It's a I will say, from the desktop, when the task is done, I know the data source, everything is designed, model is designed, queries set, now it is ready. So it's nothing, the I will say the connectivity, all things are done in this model only. Now when we are pushing, we are just visualizing, we are publishing the UI element of that, and that is being published into Power BI cloud, where all the team member accessing that data, and or either you are saying end user, I remember you are saying end user access it, and end user can be anything, XYZ people, customer, business, anybody, correct? So this is the typical process in general we go through. Is this understanding right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay, got it. Okay, cool. So here we go, and over to you.
Okay.
Thanks, Oro.
So that's the typical process. I mean, Power BI has definitely, it can be. I mean, I'm not saying that it always has to be used in the data warehouse. I know I'm in an organization. I've worked with multiple systems where I even had to get data from elsewhere, not from data warehouse. And not all companies can go for data warehouse, but this is the typical and general scenario. So here in Analyze, you see BI tools, and here you have Power BI, Tableau, Looker, anything. And then you have your distribute. If some of you have worked with SSRS, most I mean, most of the business users who have reported, like in Excel, they would know that on month ends, I mean, finance processes has this. In finance or accounts payable, people generally on month ends, they send out reconciliation reports during month ends that these are balances, these are not balancing out. So these are the reports. But yeah, only difference within Power BI, only difference between, not Power BI, I'm not talking about Power BI, I'm talking BI as a concept, and your Excel reporting is BI is automated. BI has a definite pipeline, and you have to, as a developer, you have to create that pipeline so that the reporting can be automated. You have to create that query so that the data can be derived from whatever source system. You have to have a scheduler. You have multiple schedulers to send that report out. And with scheduler, you have multiple things. I mean, Power BI has a scheduler. Your SQL Server has SQL Jobs as a scheduler. SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services, as scheduler. So yeah, I mean, you lot of options to choose from. And then React, go wow, or something like that. Okay, so next question. So here I'm gonna stop for a bit because I know talking a lot about Power BI and not showing you stuff. So this is what the Power BI desktop looks like. You have your home screen, you have insert screen. Most of these are available in any. I mean, if you have seen PowerPoint, Excel, the structure is set. UI is mostly set. You have modeling, view, multiple things, and so you can get your data from Excel. Let's see if I have it here. Page, UID, writers, and let's see what happens. I'm doing this randomly, so anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, you see that Power BI detected two sheets. It's asking us, what sheet do you want to read? So here I see that you have column 1, column 2. Here in this sheet, I get a preview of database, column 2. And you see here it's disparate data. I mean, you have lots of null values. I mean, from the first look, anyone can tell, okay, this is not a very clean data, and this has to be clean. So yeah, if I open this, if I directly load this, it will be loaded into the Power BI reporting layer.
Mm-hmm.
What is Power BI reporting layer and Power Query layer? So if I do the transformation puts this into the Power Query layer. So with transformation, this is the thing I was talking about. This is the Power BI's ETL functionality. Here you can do multiple things. Here you can filter out. So suppose I want only DBase, DDF. I want to only have that. Okay, and then I also need the column name to be something like A and B. Okay, something like that. Then close and apply, and here your data is loading into the reporting layer. What's the main use of Power Query? The main use is when you see the data here, source system. Do you see this column profiling based on top 1000 rows?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
The main use is Power Query doesn't load all your data. Power Query loads only the top 1000, something like that, and you can build your ETL based on that top 1000 rows. So if you are loading like 5,000 rows, if you are loading 20,000 data set, I know I had to work with 1 lakh record inserts, and it was hell, it was trouble. But the only thing that was good is there was a Power Query in the middle. So we did not have to load that 1 lakh record into the reporting layer. What it would do if we load that 1 lakh records? I mean, if we do the 1 lakh record insertion in the reporting layer, the refresh would take forever because it's actually loading all your data. Power Query does not load all your data. It just loads that 1000 as an example of what the data can look like. So when I worked towards the end, you'll see that sometimes when you do some functionality, you change some columns, you did some transformation here, and no error was shown here. But when you close and apply, when this is closed and applied, you'll see an error popping up here. Why? Because that error is coming up after 1000 rows. So Power Query didn't detect it, Power BI did, the reporting layer did. So then you have to go in and troubleshoot that. But yeah, that's one of the main reasons that we have Power Query, to size data, to slice and dice the data and get just the things that we want, that we need. If we have n number of columns here, we do not need n number of columns. Yeah, I mean, if you are a developer, you might need them. But if you don't need your users to view it, so you can just go ahead and hide.
So Saurav, here I have a question. Okay, so if you can just pause here and just highlight the three menu I can see: filter, visualization, and fill. Just explain that these three menus. That's it. What exactly the functionality of those three menus? If you can just highlight, please.
So visualization, this is the main thing. I mean, with your visualization, you have multiple axes A, and I'll get the count here. Okay, and this shows a poor representation of a DBase which has like one count. Okay, so visualizations basically is for visualizing all the data that we have brought in here. Filter is doing the filter on this data. You have multiple reports. With your visualization, you have you can create multiple visualization, multiple tabs, and within each of those visualization, you can apply a filter. You have three types of filter. You see,
Okay.
filters on this visual, filters on this page, and filter on all pages. This is the three type of filters in Power BI. Filter on this visual filters something only on this one.
I
So
see.
if
Okay.
I only select DBase here, or suppose I don't select DBase at all here,
Okay.
that would not happen here because it's only comprised of this DBase. But if I bring something like filter on this page and I filter out DBase, you see, this one vanished. Because this is filtering this page. Power BI, if I filter this on the next page, I'll get DBase. If I do this one and A, we count, I get this. Okay. Now I'll change this, filter on this page, remove, and filter on all pages.
See, it's look like.
And this.
So it's good that you are highlighting, but it's look like, first time, juggling and all for me, because I am not that familiar. You are doing pretty fast here. Yeah.
Until the viewers are not, I'll definitely want the viewers to really get their hands dirty and hands messy. I just want them to go through an Excel sheet and see what are the various things that they can do, and we'll definitely have a hands-on session. For now, I'm just giving an overview, and you're right, I should just keep it limited like that. So basically, we have three levels of filters, and if you go for any Power BI interview, this is what they will ask. First question: what are the three Power BI layers you have? You have reporting layer, you have the data modeling layer, you have Power Query, and you have data, your data layer. When you see all the tables. Second question: how many types of filters are there? You have filter on this page, filter on all page, filter on that visualization. Filter on visualization, this visualization. You see, until there is no filter on visualization shown here. Once I got a visual here, it shows put filters on the visualization. So three levels of filters in Power BI, and then multiple. So yeah, and fields is just the data that you need to create your visualization.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think for the introduction part, it is really good
Yeah, we covered a
like
lot.
exploration. But yeah, I think we can deep dive in each and every aspect and take a use case and try to present it. That will be, I think, much more relatable and folks can relate to it. So that
Exactly.
we will try to focus it with a use case. Okay, so I'll say let's. So what in your prospect, what should we drive or what should we study next in order to understand better and go little bit detail. What is your approach or what you will suggest the folks who are listening it and trying to learn in business intelligence and any
Right.
business intelligence tool? What is your suggestion now and what will you cover in the next session, if you can highlight that as well?
So for my next session, I will cover how to import data. What are the different kinds of import? This is
Mm-hmm.
something that you are going to be asked on the interviews to. What are the different kind of imports? I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
cover this one, and then I'm going to cover Power BI architecture in Power BI service, and do a hands-on. Definitely, we'll have a hands-on session. So. First thing that users can do is download Power BI.
Mm-hmm.
So here you see Power BI desktop download, and it's free and it's free to use. You
Mm-hmm.
can start with Power BI if the users want to learn Power BI. This is the Power BI session. If the user want to learn Tableau, then they can go with Tableau Public. I know I can tell you Tableau is much. I mean, I've seen better demand for Tableau than Power BI. If I'm going to be honest. But maybe that will change because Tableau was there for a bit longer than Power BI came in the picture. And Power BI
Mm-hmm.
still has a lot to catch up. I hope Microsoft does not sue me for saying this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, awesome. Definitely, I know wanted to deep dive in this also, the product and all. And really good two point you highlighted. If you can highlight the architecture, how exactly what are the various component and how it is associated, that will be really helpful for anybody to understand and relate. That is one point. And the second point is if you can, as you said, we will drive a use case. Okay, so imagine we have a problem statement. The objective is, though, there is a team data we are receiving and we need to visualize it, a very typical dashboard. How exactly we can achieve quickly with the Power BI, and how what is the entire process we are doing. Of course, the not the data crunching part, because that we will assume that it's already being done, but post that how exactly we transform the data, we visualize it. And also little bit it will be good. Maybe it is too early to uh, demand it, or too early to, I will say, even expect it. uh, if we which kind of graph to use, because visualization is, I think, mostly there are theory behind it, that which graph to visualize which data. If I don't have idea, imagine I am a novice, I don't have any idea, but I think there is a vast concept behind it, that in which particular segment we select which type of graph. So if you have any reference, that will be huge helpful. Not now, maybe down the line we will be observing. That will be, I think, really helpful for folks who are listening to us.
Definitely. So what I'll suggest is read about the statistical types of data.
Hmm.
Statistical. Okay.
Data type, rather, you mean to say?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Nominal
okay.
data, ordinal data, the data types. And
Hmm.
if you do a search with data types, you
Hmm.
might get a lot of things that you see. Data type. You see data type in Python. I mean, it's not a easy search. Data type, what can I search? Statistics?
Hmm.
Statistics.
Hmm. Okay.
Right. Numerical, categorical, ordinal. Right.
Yeah.
So here you have the, I mean, this is actually very useful to you if you are getting into BI. I know
Hmm.
people who have made the mistake,
Hmm.
who have represented a time series data, time series data as a categorical data. And you can do that, but it's not really helpful. So time series should be continuous data, but they represent it as categorical data. So yeah, I mean, if you are represented data, you are visualizing data, then you definitely need an idea of what's the data types. Which chart should you go with? Definitely, you should consider how the users will look at it. If suppose, right, suppose you have things like where there are only two categories, male and female, then pie chart does not make sense, right? It will be just one part, one half here, another half here. Pie
Mm-hmm.
chart would never make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go with something like bar chart. You can go. You can go with. I mean, think that I go.
You're breaking there a little bit.
Large KPI can be. Suppose you have a stacked column chart. You have a stacked column chart here, and
Mm-hmm.
you have multiple categories, like 30 categories here in the X bar. And your stacked chart won't help, and users would not be able to understand. Then
Got it.
you can use something like a tree map to create a hierarchy and ask the user to drill down and see the category. So
Understood. Okay.
if you try to look at all the data at once, it will be like drinking from a fire hose. You can do it, but you'll get very wet. A famous
Yeah, truly.
teacher said that. I really like that line.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. It was really, I will say, insightful connect, and where you explain about what exactly BI is, business intelligence is, and what are the life cycle. I'm just summarizing what is my understanding throughout this session. And what is the tool, where exactly we use it, what is the life cycle, and also the ranking and the industry where exactly it is being used. So, and then we deep dive into the tool, not in deep dive, by at least a high level overview, how exactly we can import the data and how we can consume and which type of data we can consume. Or not only that, we also look at it, the workflow, how exactly the data fit it into Power BI tool, and how then the rest of the operation, which you just demonstrated a little bit with importing the Excel sheet and the column which is represented, how exactly we can manipulate with these readily available banner, which I can see, filter, visualization, and fields. So it was really insightful, and looking forward in future, like certain kind of use case if we can bring in. It's very simple. It need not be too little bit complex or anything as such, but it can be simple as imagine it, simple dashboard for a retail shop, or simple dashboard for a hospital also, with your favorite use case, COVID dashboard. We can we
Right.
can think of certain, in that way. I think that will be really insightful. And now when it is practical, and in the next session I will be having hands on, and I will request you to guide me, and I will perform it, and that will be, I think, much more interactive. Well, okay, this was intro because I don't have any idea. In the next session I will also little bit study, and we'll both embark into it and explore further. What do you say?
Yeah, that will be good.
Amazing. Okay, anything else apart from that, Sora?
No, we can connect on our next session for a deep dive and a hands-on. I'll share the data set with the users once I'm doing the sessions. So it will be best to share. Whoever wants to join, just send the request. So that we can keep the data set in one place. What do you say, Devashish?
Yeah,
And then we
absolutely.
have to look at the data set first.
Exactly, yeah, and they need to analyze it. But we will do. Imagine I am here. I am the user. I am doing it. So I will actually take you through. I will ask all the questions which come across in my mind from my prospect, and I will request you to answer. If anything which is, let's say, unclear to us, we will explore together, and we'll come back then. I think that should be good. So you share the data, we will study it, and we'll prepare a plan, and then we'll represent it. I think that will
Yeah.
be making more sense. And okay, this is very basic. I'm directly jumping into a couple of live use cases I have in my mind, but it would be too early to actually start those aspects, or jump into those aspects. Rather, I will pause myself here and just need to. I think we have outline of the process, correct? If we're not wrong, so we have an outline, and I think if we need to follow that outline in order to achieve the stage by stage exploration and learning curve. So in order to bridge that, we need to follow that learning path, I believe. Okay. Can you
Right, right.
refer what do you mean? We have a weekly plan, correct? We have already outlined it, so we'll follow that. Okay.
Okay, all right.
Awesome. Anything else apart
All
from
right.
that, Soro?
No, we can catch up in our next session.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for your time, Soro, for today, and we'll see you in the next session. Thanks.
Thank you, Devashish. Thank you for the session. It's really good having this.
Thanks, Soro. Have a great day and great weekend ahead. Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
দারুণ হচ্ছে, দারুণ কিছু ভালো ভালো কমেন্ট পেয়েছি তোমাদের সাথে, হচ্ছে খুব ভালো ভালো। ওকে, so that's really great, man. You're completely like professional. একটু যদি আউটলাইন আমাদের ঠিক থাকে না, you you are really doing really well. Seriously, I can't even explain in that way. So really good, and let's take this forward further. That's the message.